like I'm on Concerta right now.
I
like,
see.
and I'm not ashamed of saying that. I'm not like
What is it
afraid
like?
of saying it.
It's like Adderall type thing, right?
It's like it's not
Similar.
I guess some people would call it a party drug, but most people call it like the college drug. The stuff that you would
Gives you
take
focus.
gives you focus, makes
Yeah.
you it helps you like study, helps you like stay up late and finish your tasks.
Yeah, I've experimented with Adderall myself.
I used to take Adderall.
But pretty crazy substances. I don't think they're for us to be playing around with. It's insane. Like, but I mean, I can understand the need. Like, you know, if you're diagnosed medically, but it's like there's just a huge like people are over prescribing them to kids at a level where you're just like, dude, it's a kid with energy. He doesn't have ADHD or ADD.
And you know what's funny? You mentioned that. Like, I had looked into the history of like this and be like, why weren't my parents aware of this when I was growing up? Because I feel like if my parents, my mom,
I was just like you, dude. We were both like super energy.
Yeah,
kids.
like most people think that. Like when you
Yes.
have a kid that's super full of energy,
Yes.
like I can tell the difference now at birthday parties. The kid that has like the most energy in the room doesn't necessarily have ADD. It's just that he's a kid. You know, the kid that has ADD is sitting there and he's like going like, and then like all of a sudden he's going, ah! Like, you know, and yelling out something really loud. Like, you know, that could be also Asperger's too, but at the same time, like that's kind of like how my brain sometimes functions. Like sometimes I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, nope, don't say it. Okay, fuck it. Like, and then you say it, you know, it's very like on impulse.
Yeah.
That's what my ADD is definitely about. So it's gotten me in trouble, but it's also gotten me places. Like, I feel like sometimes like my impulsivity has like helped me think of different situations. So like what you were saying with like, you know, how do you come up with these characters like all of a sudden off of the top of your head? The best way I can explain it is that it's like I Love Lucy episode of the conveyor belt going by really fast.
Oh, and she's trying to put
and they're trying to put it all together.
Yeah.
And like without Concerta, it's like, ah! And it's
with
like,
it,
I got something.
Yeah,
and then with the Concerta, it's just like, and then with like, you know, marijuana too, I've tried. Because if you, Concerta, it's really, really, really hard for you to eat.
It makes your
You have
appetite.
no
I mean, I
appetite.
think that's true for any of those like amphetamines or whatever the hell their category are. But no, I totally understand, man. If something like that, like here's the thing, and you know, anybody can make weird sort of judgments about everybody's situation but their own, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's so easy to like just point fingers. But if you have found a way to hone your skill and to put yourself in a state where you're able to perform and do what you're passionate about, I don't think there's any reason to like, you know, justify it to anybody else. And it seems like you don't care about it anyway. You don't need to justify it to anyone. But I mean, that's kind of like where I see it. I see it from your point of view. Like if you found a way to level yourself out and then perform and do your thing, that's your thing, man. That's your thing. So, you know, more power to you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. But you know, like I was really curious. The reason I went into this topic about the, you know, you getting into that character.
Sorry if I'm going off on tangents, by
It's
the way.
all good, man. This is our show. That's what we do. We're not on anybody else's schedule. So what I really like about, you know, you, and the reason why I wanted to really have this conversation, a large part of what I'm trying to do is about self-awareness. And it seems to me that being an actor, you have to have a very high level of self-awareness because you have your base life, like let's call it that. You have your role, like your Logan, you have your parents, you have your
objective.
You know, objective. Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, like let's say that's your life. Because when people say, oh, I have an alter ego or I have a character I play, well, it's an alternative ego, but that means it implies that there is an ego that's a base ego that exists for there to be an alternate, right? So, okay, so then you have different characters that you can play. And we all do this, you know, like throughout the day, like when you're at your job, you're like an employee. When you come home to your family, your father, your husband, your boyfriend or a girlfriend or mother, whatever.
Yeah.
So you're almost like playing these different roles with the people you interact with all day long anyway. So it's, to me, it makes sense. Like that's where acting is like taking that metaphor to the next level where you're just like almost ready to, and you have to be really understanding it. And what I mean by you being more self-aware is like part of recognizing that the story that you have about yourself is also just a story. It's just another narrative that's playing in your head. And so all you're doing, I think a really efficient actor, like, you know, when I watch Chaplin, where like Robert Downey Jr. played Chaplin, amazing. He's so like the way I'm thinking. Okay, what does it take to be a really good actor? And I think what my theory is that you're very observant and able to recognize that you can take your story, shelf it for a little while, pop on this character story, understand where all of the wirings come in, because essentially our body is just the animation ground, right? It's like where these sensors, whatever input you give it with your stimulus of your brain, outputs as like chemical responses and articulates like, muscle movement or whatever. And you almost like put on like, for lack of a better terminology, you put on a new suit, a new coat, a new attire, even, not just physically, but internally you're like putting on like this brand new character, and you are so good at just believing that this is your life. Like you are Batman, I am Superman, or whatever the fuck, but like that's what I think makes a good actor.
I totally agree with you. And you know what? The more I think about it, like in that way, and I've thought about it before the way you're thinking right now and the way what you're talking about, like it does take, like, you do have to shelf yourself.
Yes.
Like there's Logan that like a lot of people shouldn't see and should never see, and that's with everybody. There's a lot of people that
there's a shadow to everyone.
They have exactly. Everybody has their demons or whatever you want to call it.
There's no light without shadow.
Exactly, and it's not a big deal if you have it. Like just because you have it doesn't make you like a freak. It doesn't make you weird. It just means that you're a human. And I've had to come to realize that that I'm not this crazy person.
You're not the voice in your head.
Exactly. So when I started acting, at first it wasn't so much as like concentrated as you're talking about it. Like you make it sound so smart,
no.
But like you make me, you make me sound like you make me sound so smart. Like I actually planned all this out. But like it's more or less just like, I don't know. It kind of just happened that way because I've come to figure out that I need to shelf myself, not just in my roles. I need to shelf myself
in just day-to-day life.
100%,
man. 100%.
Like I need to shelf myself, not just because like I need to play a certain role in the moment, because if I did something impulsive, it would ruin something for this person or for that person, or it would just ruin your chances of obtaining the objective of what you want to do. I've just had to learn to like shelf myself in like parts of my life, so that way I'm not like destructive, because I've been destructive before with it.
And a good part, just to add on to what you're saying, I think, and I've done the same. And the way I've figured out, meditation is a good way to recognize, like when you sit, and meditation is not. I'm not talking about like trying to sit like yogi or whatever. That's cool. That's like the preferred way. You'll actually find if you do it that's like the best way to do it. But at the same time, even if you just sit still in your chair, even for like 5 minutes, just don't try to move or like go for your phone, and just sit there and just simply observe what kind of thoughts come up in your head, what kind of stories are coming up. And then like at the moment you feel like you've gone away with the story, just bring yourself back to like, realizing, hey, I'm just sitting here. I'm actually not doing anything. Oh yeah, you know how that thought just came up about I have to do this, or I have to like go and do this? I'm just going to hold off on that and just let that thought keep going. And you'll find that you almost come into this state where you're like completely empty and at peace, and there's no chaos. But what does that mean? That means mostly all of your chaos is just self-derived. It's all in your head. You are simply your own worst enemy, because you don't recognize that there's this loop all day from the moment you wake up to the time you're going to bed, that you are constantly being directed by this voice in your head. And the one thing I would like to point out is, I have I have an older brother who he's disabled. And then he has a little. He's not like dumb or anything, but like society would categorize him as maybe like somewhat slow or retarded in that sense. Like,
do you mind if I write in this?
Just
so I remember what I have like in my head. But continue what you're talking about.
So anyway, for my brother, I always notice like he talks out loud his thoughts, like. Even if he's singing a song, or like if he finds a tune, he'll just sing it out loud. And like if you were in a public place, or if you were in a room by yourself, somebody would say, "Oh, that's crazy. Like only crazy people do that." And I'm like, really? Only crazy people do that? How about you fucking think about all the thoughts in your head?
What's crazy?
Yeah, and it's also like the only difference between you and somebody who is crazy that's speaking their thoughts out loud is that you're doing it in your head and they're saying it out loud, and you're calling them crazy. when you're doing the same exact thing and you're inside of your head, but you're not even aware of it.
It's an insecurity that people have. People have a need to say things. That's what I've noticed. Even if it's like a positive situation, people just have a need to say something. If you're in a room with somebody and you're sitting across from them and there's no reason for them not to look at you, or there's no reason for you to not to look at them or to be in contact with you, I've noticed so many people that are just like so awkwardly like, so I noticed your hair is blonde. Like, you know, like
They have
just
this internal
need that they
dialogue
need to-
going on inside. That's the thing. It's like when you come into any situation, and this is where like part of your audition really talks to me, is that you walk, like the way I visualize it in my head. Like even when people describe a story, what we're doing is you're saying words and I'm visualizing pictures in my head, right? So if my pictures of what you're describing is different, then I could misunderstand what you're saying. And that is like what happens when people misunderstand each other, is that the words that are being spoken are being misrepresented in their head.
That's why text messages are
Super
poisonous.
You're absolutely right.
Ooh.
But like as an actor, you're like going into this whole like, I'm gonna really transform like myself to really believe in this character, and then everything that I put out, it almost like it kind of is scary when I see like some really, really good actors, because you think like, well, shit, that guy's really good at deceiving me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of like the Machiavellian part of
you gotta be a
acting.
real good liar.
That's true, but also you've probably found out that like in your head you have that some sort of or in your center, maybe in your higher kind of conscious level, or if you let's say like your best version of you, who wouldn't otherwise make bad choices, because we all have like a sense of morality in our self about like what's right or wrong. So if let's say that's your highest version of you, the highest version of Logan, you would I think inside that if you were to take this path of being an actor, you could very well become a very good con artist. You could very well like deceive people to a point.
You know what? Dangerously so.
And dangerously so.
So I with going off of that with the psychology, not to like interrupt you or anything.
No,
like
please,
that,
please.
But going back with my family, like with that stuff, what I've come to understand in just studying like pretty general psychology, and taking sociology courses at like Cal State Long Beach, and then
represent
like,
the shirt.
Yeah, like represent. I'm wearing this, by the way,
Dogg.
not just to be like, hey, I go to Cal State Long Beach. I go to college. It's mostly because I wear this as like a badge, because when I go out and shoot, because I came out here and I was like, oh, like if I'm coming down to San Diego, like I'm gonna make a day out of it, because I fucking love San Diego.
I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so happy I am here. So I kind of wanted to like come a little bit early and take some shots of like somewhere something that news is happening, and I couldn't find any news that was happening on Twitter, so I just went to Old Town and I decided to take some pictures, and there was a lot of going on at Old Town. Met some new people and like took a lot of great pictures of like their blacksmith place. But anyways, I wear this mostly just because like I want people to be like, oh, that guy's probably doing it because he's in school. Like that's why because I don't want people to think like, why is this creepy guy taking a picture of my child? Like, I'm taking a picture of the guy in front of your child talking to him. I don't like taking pictures of kids unless I ask, because it is weird. Because there are people online that post pictures of kids for pornographic sites, but that's other stuff.
It's all good. So going back to your earlier point that you were trying to make about what I just said about being like deceiving, where were you trying to go with there?
Oh, so like, to be, I wouldn't consider myself, or I don't even call myself on my resume or in my social medias, I don't call myself an actor because
of the deceptive part about it?
No, just because of the fact that I just haven't gotten a role that I feel like would make me an actor. Like until, like, no offense to any of the films that I've, co-starred in or starred in for independent films, like, but, let's be honest, like until nobody really considers you like working in the industry until they've seen you at like your local cinema.
Gotcha.
So like that's how I feel. So until you've
seen
me
look
as like
now,
an extra,
look at now
or
as
something.
people getting famous off of like YouTube, or people getting famous off of
That
Instagram.
too. Well, that
I was
too.
just saying, like nowadays it's kind of silly because when we were growing up, we would look at the TV and the people that were on TV as like a celebrity, and we would look at them as like somebody to look up to, or be like, oh my God, that's a person of fame. But now you're getting these people popping out of like YouTube and Instagram that are like super popular, and they're like
like Logan Paul.
Semi popular in real life too. When they go places, like people show up. Some of these followers are very loyal. They
It is insane.
It's insane.
I have an example of that. I tried to do this one cosplay thing. So I'm sure everybody knows about cosplay now because of the internet.
Yeah.
And I tried doing this cosplay with this girl named Reagan, and she's pretty popular now. She actually might be right there on one
Really
of those pictures.
hot
She's
cosplay girls.
Yep, that's her right there. The one with the white jacket.
This one?
The white jacket to the bottom right. That looks like it might be her. No, it's not her. Never mind.
Nope. She's really hot though.
She does a lot of what is it? She did a lot of one of the characters in Overwatch. I don't remember. I played Overwatch for a while, but I can't remember what the damn character's name is. Oh, Mercy.
Okay.
She did a lot of Mercy cosplays. Personally, I'm not really into cosplay because, like, so I've been in these communities of people, and it just does not mesh with me and my attitude. So I went to one of these things with Reagan that I'm talking about. One of these things with Reagan called a shootout, which is not a good fucking thing to call it.
Not a good name.
Not at all. They called it the Cosplay LA Shootout, which sounds like a
boy.
bunch of people are going to dress up in cosplay and maybe shoot some people.
Oh, that sounds
Yeah,
bad.
this is pretty bad. Pretty bad. So
Bad
that was,
marketing
and
on
that
their
was
end.
that was in like 2016. That was not long ago, which is weird. So, where was I going with this? Oh, so at the LA Shootout, she wanted me to play Prince Philip because I
Okay.
had been Prince Philip in the park, and this is after I quit. So she like
The
got
park being Disney.
yeah. And so she brought me out. I dressed up as Prince Philip. We went out and did this photo shoot with these people. And, like, you know, they're nice people, but, like, God, I could not. Like, I couldn't, like, you know, get on the same level. And I couldn't understand the excitement behind it because I had done this before, maybe. And this was, to me, a job. And for me, when I buy a costume, I'm not buying it for fun. I'm buying it because I'm going to make a return on this costume. You know,
Gotcha.
Like I don't spend $1,000 on Batman just because I want to like be like, I'm Batman. You know, some of these people, like you look at some of this stuff, like they do incredible work. Like I go to cosplayers to get my stuff.
Yeah,
done.
people roll into like designing their costumes, and they take a serious amount of time.
I just can't understand some of the people that I've met in it. Like some of them, I'm like, hey, what's up? But like a lot of them get kind of dramatic, and it's weird, and it feels like I'm back at
What do you
Disney.
mean? Do you mean they're dramatic as if they're too caught up in their character?
Yes. Very much.
See, this is the problem with us as a whole anyway.
Well, this is the problem with Instagram. So the reason why cosplay exists is because of Instagram. Like,
Is that right?
I think so. I mean, I don't
know,
quote,
man.
Don't quote me. You could probably look it up
Sure.
and see if I'm right or wrong. But I think that
Is it cosplay like Japanese?
cosplay is one of like, I feel like Instagram has, if it didn't bring cosplay
Blend
to
of
the world,
costume and play
it-
after Japanese cospure, ultimately English. Hey Nancy, what the heck is cosplay? She said we need to dress up.
yeah.
Okay.
So when you dress up, it's like Halloween every day.
It's Halloween every day.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these people dig it and like, cool. Like, do what makes you happy, man. Like, I don't care.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, no shit off, you know, my ass. Like, I don't
So
care.
anyway, you were talking about
But
cosplay.
But for cosplay, like some of it is just like, okay, good and get along with it because some people just get super dramatic and there actually are like scandals and stuff that have been happening.
So what I was gonna point out with people getting so attached to their character is that's the same thing that happens, but people get too attached to their character being their version of who they think they are
well, that's
in
like
their
who
head.
works at Disney right now.
Huh?
Dude, I left for
Say
two.
that again?
That's like who works at Disney right now. Like I left for so many, like Disneyland. I know we keep going back and forth on stuff, but it keeps kind of like referencing back to other things. So at Disneyland, I quit not only because it didn't work with my schedule and they didn't pay me enough, and they were like, "Why are you working another job? You should be working for just us." But I quit because of the culture at Disney. And what did I start off with this? Sorry, I was going.
We were
into
talking
something with
about
Disney.
Some guy there at Disney who's so caught up with his character.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so it's like the people that have been hiring recently, and in my opinion, what I've come to see before I left, there were people that were going in and they were getting the parts, and they didn't look like the character. They just looked like everybody else. And I know that sounds really bad. I know that sounds really horrible, but let's be honest. what does Aurora look like? What does Jasmine look like? What does Pocahontas look like? They don't look like everybody. They look fantastic because they're cartoons, because they're supposed to be these very memorable movie-like featured faces. So like people that complain and say, well, I can do it because blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, no, because that's not how children see it. Because the reason what makes me so upset with, going off on another tangent, it makes me so upset about people who are playing these characters and they play them so seriously, but they just don't look like the characters. They play them so seriously to the point of where they're coming up to like kids and stuff, and like some of the kids are happy, but like you're talking to a Cinderella who weighs 300 pounds, and that's not cool because like, and these aren't cosplay people; these are party princess people too. Like, I don't think it's cool because like that kid doesn't know Cinderella like that.
Yeah.
That's not how Cinderella is. That's not who Cinderella is in the stories. And there are stories with people that are of that weight.
I get
and
it.
there are people of like different cultures, and there should be more stories about them.
It's like a dude trying
but there
way too
isn't.
hard to play this character, and it just doesn't align.
Exactly. But anyways, back to cosplay people. People that do cosplay, some of them, there are stinkers that play it way too hard, and they play it so hard because they believe they are the character. They believe they are the character to the T.
That's dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
Identity.
Like, look up some of these people. They say, well, I'm Wolverine. Or they say, well,
oh yeah,
I'm
dog,
so-and-so.
you got metal coming out your knuckles.
And it's so funny because my girlfriend, she's been like told, she's been tasked before to schedule people for some of these party companies. So we used to work for a company called Once Upon an Island that we really used to love to work for, and she used to schedule stuff. Yeah, and she used to schedule stuff for them. And put certain people in certain places as certain characters, you know, and some of these people would be so upset sometimes, and it wasn't just here; it was like other places too, and Disney especially. People would be so upset if somebody else was their character.
Oh wow!
Like
you're the only one that.
Oh
can
my
play
God,
this
that
character.
reminds me right now of something that happened at Disney too.
Okay,
so
go
people
for it.
the same exact situation. So there was this guy I used to work with, and I don't know why, but like. This guy named Travis Slopemaker, who I used to work with, and I don't understand why, but he doesn't like me for no reason.
How could you not like me?
No.
always people
I
that
understand
don't.
that
Yeah.
there's reasons why not to like me. Like,
Sure.
you know, there's a number of different reasons not to like certain other people, but like, I just didn't know what I had against this guy had against me.
Given the vast
I
amount of people in the world, there's always going to be a subset of people
there's
that
always
don't
going to
like
be
you.
like, what are the chances of this guy of this situation?
Sure.
So what happened was I hired into Disney as Prince Philip, right? And I auditioned as Flynn. That's not what I wanted. I wanted Flynn, you know. I wanted the guy who was like, hey, how's it going? You know, and like do that shit and like really like hit
do it
on
so well.
And I was single at the time, so I really wanted to just like hit on guests and as like a joke, you know, because like I could.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it was
Sounds like a fun job.
It's
man.
fun. It's fun. You just like hit on like people. Like I would hit like if I did Flynn, I would have so much fun because
Do
I would
some
just,
Flynn right now.
I can do like Smolder.
Do it. Put you on the spot. Ooh. Oh, he's got the facial expressions.
Flynn is just like really laid back. So Flynn would be just kind of like really cocky like this, and he would just kind of sit in his chair and just be like, mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
We're having
and
a
then like so
conversation.
at parties sometimes like if I'm talking to somebody and if they're just like keep going, like I'll trail off and I'll be like looking like a mirror and I'll just go, or I'll like look at myself and I'll like try and figure out like what to do in the situation. And they look at me and they're like, what are you doing? And I'll be like, oh sorry, what were you talking about? And like, you know, like just kind of go with the flow. Flynn's super easy. You just got to be a cocky asshole,
Gotcha.
which is why Flynn was
So
so much
easy to
fun
play.
and so easy to play because like, you know, going back to like that alternate ego, like kind of idea that we were talking about, like that's like shelving yourself and like
being so believed in that.
pulling out another part of yourself that you don't show in an extreme, but now you are, you know?
I wonder if then like being a character, when you're pretending to be a character, like say like in cosplay or something, and you take it so seriously, I wonder if that's actually giving people sort of like a you know, it's like giving you the permission to then like go to the extreme and so like act in like the most extreme way because you don't have repercussions because, well, hey, listen, I'm just playing in character. You can't be mad at me. So it's almost like saying I'm going to take away the responsibility I hold as, you know, myself because I'm playing a character. I can see where that's so dangerous.
It is. There's so much integrity in these jobs. That's why it gets me so upset when people are just totally misrepresenting the character. You can't walk around and say that you're the goddamn character because you're not the fucking character. You know, you're not the character. You're somebody who has been privileged to be able to play this character, who has been made into mythology, essentially. This is American mythology, like whether you like to like think about it or not. Like some people,
in a way, you're right.
It is because they're based off of mythologies themselves, and like, you know, these people who represent these characters, they're to children celebrities. Like I've been to birthday parties as Spider-Man. I've been to birthday parties as Jack Sparrow. As I
saw you just recently did Jack Sparrow. Yeah, that was like
it's a lot of fun, mate. But it's yeah, I'm not a very good Jack Sparrow.
I like Jack Sparrow, man. Who doesn't?
All right, I shouldn't be doing it.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. But you know, playing characters like that or Darth Vader, and you know, going into different voices and stuff like that. But like, you know, I do the best that I can, but I know the characters that I can't do, and I play Jack Sparrow the best that I can. But like, I don't look like Johnny Depp.
No,
at all.
But you do look like Brad Pitt in the Fight Club. Which I
got a picture of that.
I saw you on your Instagram. That's a really, really good. I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick.
There's one with my girlfriend Allie who surprised me that Halloween and got a Marla Singer costume, even though she kept telling me she was never gonna be Marla Singer.
Yeah. Am I going too far?
No, there's one right up there, right there to the right.
Dude, this is pretty good. You do look like the guy.
Thanks, man.